My name's Tamara, and I own Consign Couture in Portland, Oregon. I have I guess, 24-year long resume now of being a hiring manager. And over the past year, I've realized that that has truly been the thing in my career that I love the most. And I've been talking with SimpleConsign about a lot of their processes and onboarding support. And this was something that, because of my passion for developing, hiring people, they were asking me to do this. And I didn't feel like doing it alone and talking to a screen because I've actually never done a Zoom presentation. But I asked Emily to join me. She has been my store manager now for a little over a year and a half and been an incredible asset of an example of what a store manager should look like. A little bit more about me is I started my career in marketing and managing sales teams. And I started my first resale business was when I was 8, reselling golf balls. And I have never lost my love and passion for finding something cool and reselling it. And I do that in my personal life and I do that in my business. And then I love that. And I love hiring people and developing people and collaborating with people. So that's a little bit more about me.
Hi everyone, I am Emily Willett. Like Tamara said, I'm the store manager at Consign Couture in Portland, Oregon. One of my first jobs was in retail, resale. In college, I worked at a consignment shop as well, so I've always loved the consignment business. I then went into the corporate space, working in customer success at a software company. And I was looking for work at last year and stumbled upon Consign Couture, which I had been a customer, a consigner, and just like a lover of Consign Couture itself for several years, and immediately fit in and kind of naturally went into the store manager role and kind of built it.
She was doing the job before we didn't have one. And the one that I hired before her was one of my 10% not great hire rates. And she came from another peer, another Portland store, Revive Athletics. And I she started, and after a few months there, I was like, Emily, you are already my manager too. So we need you in this position.
Yeah, and so I, found that I was easily able to translate my skills and talents from all the roles that I've had in the past, especially my customer success role at the software company, and take it and translate it and build and refine these systems that Tamara had already had in place and create a really good and robust team that we have now, and systems and processes that really make Consign Couture run at a great, high, successful level.
Yes. And one of the things I'm still amazed by is when I come into the store and I just see all these, like the operation manual that we have, the communication, we communicate on Slack, we organize all of our lists on Todoist, and I walk in and Emily is like, every morning she updates everything, the team checks it regularly, and it's just these little tiny systems that in my previous teams, who have all been great, people just didn't follow all the systems. And obviously we're not robots, but we organize the team to follow these systems, which has made it the easiest way to manage a consignment store ever, because there's so many loose ends that fall through the cracks if you're not on it. So it's a little bit more about us. I am on to, I guess, slide number 2. This is I think there's a picture of us. I actually think that this is, when I reflected on this presentation around 7 a.m. this morning, with the first time I ever read through my notes, I think this was the part that got me emotional. And I think these are the notes that I think are the most, I think the best takeaway for anybody interested in developing a higher quality or higher functioning team is the thought in my mind when I was reflecting on why I love managing people is I've never thought about it as being their boss. I've always thought about it as how do we collaborate together? And in working with and learning how to work with so many different types of people and seeing the best parts of them, there's just a lot of really beautiful interactions that I've learned a lot about myself and my life from. And I think that when you go in and open up a small business and open up a consignment store, there's like these three aspects of your community. There's your consigners, your customers, and your team. And you have to like appreciate all of them in different ways. And I think I learned at least, I don't know, I probably from day one, because I'd managed teams before, but I just knew that you can't have a business run without a team that you support and you treat really well. And the thing that I would take away when you're hiring or thinking about hiring is, would you want to work for yourself? And I often don't think I could work for myself, but I think about the ways in which you care and think about people and don't treat them like they're like you're their superior. You need to work with them collaboratively. Um, I think this is, um,
Background.
yeah, a little bit more about my background. So the funny part about managing is I graduated from art school and had no business degree or I went to school to study photography and I somehow landed in a marketing company that was getting bought. I didn't know any of that. And I was asked to lead a group of people at 24 years old on managing sales goals and marketing, different marketing tools. And a year into doing that, I found that I really liked it because I was able to use this like unique ability to see everybody's best self, like best version of themselves, and sort of help fill in the gap. So like let's say somebody had an objective for the year of like $100,000. I took it really personally to want to help them hit that goal, not manage them to hit that goal, but how do I help you do that? And I think throughout my career doing that role, it put me in a really good position to understand like when I open my own business, it's not a matter of telling them what to do and setting up systems. It's more about like helping them when they have a disconnect or don't know what to do. Um, I have found that a lot of store owners get very overwhelmed by managing larger groups of people. And granted, I have had larger groups when we had two stores. Right now, we have a very small team. We have a total of five, sometimes six or seven when we have part-timers help. But larger groups of people can be a lot more dynamic and a lot more personalities. I personally love having a smaller team because it's a lot easier to manage all of that. But I think that the thing that keeps me grounded in having a team of five people right now is everybody kind of has their lane and everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do. And most people do a little bit more than just ringing customers up and researching clothes. They all have different hats they wear. Of course, we all do everything, but everyone has a little bit of extra in their title, which creates a little bit more buy-in, I think, in keeping people happy in their role instead of just you ring up sales.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that's all I want to talk about there. Um, the next concept with a lot of people in my peer group, I think because anybody that knows me that's opened a store, I either give them the book or text them the book. It is, I think, a philosophy that I read the first year I opened my store, and it kind of resonated, but it didn't really resonate until I had been open like I don't know, 8 or 9 years. So it's one of those things that you can hear about and it's in the back of your head. But until you're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and never have a break ever because you're getting all the emails, you're pricing all the clothes, you're doing everything. It's really difficult to do it all. And so I remembered this book, and I actually went through a higher level training with the E-Myth, and that's the book that I recommend to anybody who hasn't read it, because it teaches you that your business is your systems. And that has a lot to do with hiring as well.
Sorry.
And you have to have systems. And for every person you bring in, if you're like, here, just watch me do everything, and then you do most of the things, it's just really overwhelming. So the E-Myth has three different parts of the book, um, three different roles. And the one is the doer, which is, I would say, in Consign Couture is, what would you say the skills that the doer is doing?
The doer is like on the ground. So they're doing the tasks that the systems have created or the manager has set, the roles and responsibilities that they've set. So the doer is like taking your idea and actually implementing that and doing it.
And up until several years ago, I really liked doing things. So I was always the doer, even though I knew you can't do it all. And then the most important and sometimes hardest job, I mean, they're all hard in their own right. But the other component of this book in talking about entrepreneurial vision is the manager. And that's somebody that can get the vision from the entrepreneur and help create the systems. And so, for example, like what are three systems at Consign Couture that you got and now you're managing?
Yeah, very granularly. Like, we have a specific tagging system that we use. So we have specific words that we use in the title. We have a way to lay out our tags, and that we've refined so that it's easier for the employees to look up things in our systems in SimpleConsign. It's easy for the customer to see the information on the tags, and then it also just like aesthetically makes the store really nice because it's all kind of lined up and put together. So at a very like small level, that's a system that we use. At a larger level,
Just a side note about that. I did have a system, but Emily made that system a lot better herself. And when I came in and
Yes.
covered for you, she let me know that I was not very really
Yes, I
nicely.
do. I
I think
remember
that's so
that.
cute. And she's right. Her way of thinking about it more aesthetically is better for the store.
Yeah. And so it's, yeah, like the manager is taking the visionary and these ideas and really honing in on those systems, setting the systems, creating these structures that allow the doers to naturally do their job and naturally like be able to not necessarily like really think about having to do this because they already know that like this is the system that's in place and like this is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, people like to know what they're expected
The
of.
expectations.
What's another system that we have set up that you help manage?
Um, yeah, we have let me think.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Go on.
We have like an inventory management system. So we have a sheet that is reviewed weekly. So the inventory, not like our store sales inventory, like the consignment inventory, but like our supply inventory is managed by our team and making sure that we're staying on top of that. So we have like a sheet that is managed by our assistant manager, and we keep that up to date. And like all it's those little tiny details, like,
Yes.
you know, if we run out of paper towels or, you know, it might not be the end of the world, but if we're staying on top of it, then we don't have to worry about like, you know, running out of something.
Yeah.
So that's a small system. And then a larger system would be like how we are communicating our consignment details to our consigners.
That's huge.
We have refined it so that we are hitting these key points that are really important for the consigner to know and understand. And so every new consigner gets this like kind of a spiel about our just consignment process, and every employee really hits on the key details of like our consignment date range, our splits, what they have access to, like consigner access, those types of things. And at the end of the appointment, what we have noticed and heard from our new consigners and existing consigners week after week is just that it's an easy process because you are laying out the groundwork for them to understand the consigner process instead of like maybe having it on your website somewhere or like having it on the contract, but like verbally saying it as well as showing them the contract because we do have a robust contract that we give our consigners, and then they get a copy of that. So it's about the like every avenue you're letting the consigner know, and our employees follow that system. And we've just really seen it be a benefit to the employees, the consigners, and I mean, the business itself.
Yeah. Something to note about just the early days when I opened, I rarely even had people sign contracts, and lots of things came. Not that we have to refer back to the contract often, but just having those communications and systems in place really helps for everybody to know that we have policies. Okay, so the last component in the E-Myth that really like lit me up as far as like finally understanding it is if you're like me and you really like doing the thing, so you open up a store so you can do the thing, you can't grow the thing or make that thing very sustainable if you're not working on it and you're working in it. And that always, because every week I want to come and help do all these things. And I do sometimes, but I also know that it's a benefit to everybody if I'm working on the business more, if I'm like strategizing different marketing plans or creating networking opportunities with new great consigners, doing events and all these other behind the scenes things that allow a business owner to work on their business. It's also something that gives you an ability to come in and enjoy what you love so much, as opposed to always seeing it from the perspective of working in it. And I'm not saying you can't do both. I think people should do both, but having the opportunity to grow and foster the thing that you've opened that you love is a reason why following this methodology has really been helpful in my business. So anyways, you should get the book if you haven't. So that's the E-Myth. Okay, so here is where I hope you take just like 3 takeaways that are huge, that have helped me. I have some, I think, unique hiring, interviewing ways. I don't think Emily went through the unique interview way because she was a referral. And also, right before the interview, I actually was sitting next to you at dinner. So I was like, okay, we don't need to do the FaceTime call. But I wanted to give you like what I do, the nuts and bolts, what I feel like. Some of these things are like intuitive and hard to train, but I'm going to spell them out as best that I can. So like if you need to hire an employee today and you're just overwhelmed because you have a vacation in 2 weeks and you don't know how to get somebody to help work your store.
Sorry. This one second.
I'm the events manager here.
So if you're in a position where you need to hire somebody today or this week, the worst decisions I've ever made in hiring people has been when I've been desperate or haven't followed some sort of system that's given me an ability to be somewhat calculated about understanding what this individual is going to bring or to your business. And the thing that I do is I always set up a phone interview and preferably a FaceTime interview. I post it in our newsletter because sometimes having a person reach out that has already been a customer and consignor of your business, which is Emily's case, they can be somebody that already understands the culture. And so that's always the first road. Posting it on social media, I think is the second avenue. You can get a lot of people that might not be a great fit in all these different ways you reach out for employees. And then Indeed has been my favorite way of, you can usually find some sort of promo code there, but Indeed has been my last resort, but also very effective. And then just people that walk in and see that you're hiring too, you can put it up on in your front window. I always start with a video call because that's going to tell you, do they show up on time? And do they seem like they have joy and they seem like a happy person? Because those are things you cannot train. Like if someone's late and if they're in a dark room and just it doesn't look like a good fit, I make the interview very quick and then I move on.
Video call is very, think low effort. You aren't asking someone to go to the workplace. You're really just asking them to pick up their phone and get on a screen. So if they're put together, that like shows that they, put in the effort, want to be there. And then if they show up on time, then,
you can tell a lot by somebody's, presence. The next thing that I do is I use that's usually last 10 minutes, and whether it's a yes or a no, and then I ask them if it's a yes. I usually follow up on that call to ask them to come in and do a job shadow. And I do not sit down with them and have any sort of professional sit down with a file and ask them questions. I just get right into it. And legally, you cannot ask them to perform work. Like they cannot, unless it's a paid working interview. But I often just have them shadow one of the other teammates and or myself. And I notice how they are. Like, are they helpful? Do they have kind energy? Do they seem motivated? Are they anticipating needs? Are they asking great questions? Those are the things that are also you cannot train. And so those are the two most effective ways to know if somebody's going to be a good fit. And remembering that they can have a ton of experience and lots of retail, lots of secondhand experience. But if they're not in a great place in their life and they don't like talking to people or they're have some sort of chip on their shoulder because of something they're going through, that's not going to translate well in your business. So you can tell a lot by a working interview. One of the questions I ask at the end of the interview is I ask them if they like what their availability is like, because that's also really telling. If they're like, I have 2 days a week, and that can usually be done pre-interview, but a lot of times people change their minds. So after the interview is over, I'm just like, what is your availability? And then the third thing is I ask them to send an email follow-up about why they feel like they'd be a good fit. And that tells me a lot. Do they send the email? Is it professional? How do they communicate? And and I just do a gut check. Like, how did I feel about them? And my first boss that taught me how to hire, I think over all of those things, after they've done a working interview or a job shadow, I think about, would I want to get in the car with them? And that's one of those lines that I hope everybody can take from this interview part. And you think about whether their energy was either soothing or collaborative, or did it feel like you would clash? Because that you are the culture definer in your business. And if somebody is going to clash with that, or it's going to feel like, I gotta break from this, it's not going to work. So I always say, would you want to drive to the grocery store with that person you just interviewed and consider that? So I hope that's helpful in making some interview hiring decisions.
I think one so a funny story about Tara is that like when she was like, I was like maybe a month in and she's like, hey, do you want to take on a bigger role? And we got in the car together, went thrift shopping. And I was like, wow, she just like absolutely loves this business. And that really showed me that like she put so much care into this business and care into hiring people and care into just like the people that she hires, that it just, if you show that an employee that you care about them,
Mhm.
They are going to be loyal and they are going to be trusting you, and they are just going to show up every day wanting to do the best that they can do for your business.
And you really do that. And I was trying to, yeah, after we took that car ride, I was like,
Yeah.
yes, please be my manager. Um, I wanted to point out to the skill set of like, maybe you're not in deep enough into your business yet where you need a manager or you have a manager or you can have a manager. But if you want to grow, having one is really instrumental. And um, the things that Emily brings to the business is I always want everybody to have what they want, which isn't always a great quality in a manager. So although I love hiring and developing people, Emily really helps organize the systems and making sure everything's fair and equitable. And she, lots of times she'll communicate policies to our consigners and our employees. And I'm just cringing, like, oh my God, because I want everyone to have what they want. We don't let people use the bathroom in the store because it got very busy. And oh, I hate it when someone has to go. And Emily's just great at it. So, Emily's personality, her organization, she's also very self-aware whenever we have check-ins. She's able to deliver and accept feedback, which is huge in life and especially in management. And I also think it's always important for every person to start at like also doing the job and then promotion from there.
I think that's an important key too. It's like if you, even as a business owner, if you can't do the job, you're not setting the example for the employees. And so you have to be able to show them like, this is the goal, right? You can do this job, you can exceed further.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like really what you show and what a good leader shows within the business.
Yeah. So I think we're here. Hiring, I gave you the steps for hiring, onboarding with clarity. I think I skimmed over that, but I do want to make a really important point that I learned the hard way is you keep all these systems in your head because you know the way to do it the best. That's a natural way to just blow up and burn out. And once you put them onto paper and you refine your operations manual, or you could just have a 2-page system thing, whatever growth you're at in your business, when you bring someone onto the business, it's sorry, it's really important that they know what their expectations are. And so job description, like refer back to that as far as here's what we bring you on to be a part of, and this is what your expectations are. And then I have like a 3-week and a 30-day and then a 90-day trial period where everybody can just sort of after 30 days, if it's not a fit, either person can just be like, this isn't a fit. And my goal in those first 30 days is to just make sure I don't have to fire somebody, that they can actually see themselves out because they're like, oh yeah, I'm not understanding this, or this isn't resonating, or I don't like this job. So I think having really clear expectations, having an operations manual, having a job description for the person that's coming into your business, and then also having goals to check in on every I do a 3-week, I do a 30-day, and which is really just a week after the 3-week. And then I do a 90-day check-in usually where if there's room for improvement or what's that promotion, that's when you evaluate that stuff.
Yeah. And then to piggyback off of that, I think as if we're talking about the E-Myth idea and theories and philosophy, as the visionary, a lot of the times, like what I found in my career is that like a lot of the times CEOs and small business owners and just like stakeholders in general, they are the visionary. They have these grand ideas, and it's really up to that manager to rein them in and come in, well, not like rein them in.
No, it's true.
and take their ideas and see how that idea actually fits within the business.
Yeah.
Because the manager is on the ground, they are daily, like in the business daily.
Mhm.
They understand all these systems. They maybe created some of these systems, refined them, whatever. And so they understand more so whether an idea is actually going to be successful in the business. And maybe it's not the like idea that was originally proposed, but with the manager's help and the collaboration that is happening
Mhm.
between the visionary and the manager is going to create an idea that will be successful. So that is what I found with a lot of,
Mhm.
a lot of the things.
That is probably my favorite thing about working with Emily is that I do have a lot of crazy ideas and I have a lot of wants. Like I want to do 50 things in a day. And I will download all of this stuff to Emily, even an idea that I had yesterday, which we had a meeting about that I thought would be super easy to execute and I wanted to make it happen. And it was like a website update thing. And she talked me through the best way of managing our employee hours and our energy and what would be the best fit to get my goal achieved. And because she understands the payroll and the employee training and what actually needs to happen. Um,
And then I think one thing about onboarding and like clarity is once you have these like refined, robust systems in place, it's really, and you have like this person that you've hired that you feel is going to really benefit your store. They have the right vibe, whatever it is, having a like system in place and having a store manual that highlights how you're talking to the consigners, like what key points you need to say, how we are tagging things. That gives the employee the expectations. So whenever they're going into the work, whether they are processing consignment, they have the expectation that this is how it's going to be laid out. And then they don't have to worry about like, am I doing this right? Having these like systems and processes, it benefits the employees, it benefits the consigners, it benefits the customers and the overall business itself. So I think a really big thing before you're even thinking about, hiring on, like maybe you're in a position where you have to hire on new people, take a look at your processes that currently exist, see if you need to refine them and see if you need to, really hone in on some of those steps and store manuals, whatever it is you have, and write them down. Make it something that is your own before you even start the process.
I did not train her. So she is like this. She came to me like this. So that is amazing. Really good feedback. Um, I think before we go through a day in the life of being like working for a small business, managing systems in a small business, I think the last thing that I want to say on this whole developing people, retaining people that is important is I said it before, but like think about this often. Like, would you want to work for yourself? Are you stressed out about numbers? Are you not sleeping? Are you going through a really difficult time in your life? Are you putting your problems on your people? Because that I've done that before. It's awful. Um, we all go through hard times, and you just have to remember that people come to work, they also have hard lives. They're also going through hard things. So you need those boundaries, and you also like there's a very fine line in working, supporting your people and having those strong boundaries too, and building them up, being a part of their lives, but also having those boundaries where you're not like having them sleep over at your house. But retention for me, it just comes down to people knowing that you care about them very much. And you make a lot of decisions in the business based on their benefit. So
And that all starts with just transparent, good
yeah.
communication, clear communication. And that allows the employee to like trust you because you're being open with them. And then they will trust, they'll be able to, you know, trust themselves to be open with you.
Yeah. And also in the retention thing that is super important that I believe is from the E-Myth, but I don't know for sure, is one-on-ones or check-ins can seem really like, oh, again, weekly, like that seems too much. But people really want to be asked how they're doing, and they want to know what friction is currently going on in their job and what's going on in the business. So those are really important to do. We just did one all team one recently, and it was illuminating. Like there's two huge things that I had no idea that people were struggling with or that was going on that taught us how to handle that and how to make sure that we're an open delivering feedback all the time. Because it can often feel when you're a small business owner, I just can't hand any more feedback. I'm doing the best that I can. But that's just hard for a team to be a part of. Like everybody wants to be heard, and you also need to be able to receive feedback. Um, so I think the last part about this before we close would be more perspective from Emillie. Actually, I'll share this because you're writing to somebody. But another decision that has been like, you know how you learn from your mistakes better than anything? Every time I've made a hiring decision, I think I said this already, but if I wasn't setting expectations from the get-go, or I've also believed a lot of my teams are smarter than I am, and I really have leaned on them a lot, which is great. But sometimes when you lean on them too much and they have more power, that dynamic can get, I don't know how to explain that exactly, but you still need to make sure that you're holding, following your systems and maintaining professionalism in your business instead of, I guess the best example is one time we couldn't decide where to display handbags. And I asked every team member what their idea was. And we couldn't decide on it. And I wanted them to figure it out. I wanted the team to decide together where to put the handbags because we had so many of them. But everyone had a different idea. And I realized in that moment, there just does have to be a boss sometimes. Like there has to be someone that's going to make that decision. And I think sometimes I've gotten a little unbalanced because I wanted everybody to be a part of every decision, and that can be hard. Um, and also the thing that has gotten me to a great place in managing my team is trying to make more decisions with less emotional charge. Just making things more pragmatic, talking things through before I decide them. And that has been really helpful with employee team retention and all of that. So Emillie, what is a day in the life at managing a small business like? Like, what does it look like when if someone wants to hire a manager, what are you doing every day to make the store run smoothly?
Yeah, I think that if you're hiring a manager, I think you want to really find someone who is just naturally organizational, or it doesn't have to be naturally organizational, but someone who is, great at organizing and project planning, because at the beginning of my day, I am essentially scheduling out what we're going to do for the day. I'm looking at what we did yesterday and making things a priority for today and what each team member can do each day. I'm looking at our, consignment from the previous day. I'm looking at our consignment appointments for this upcoming day, scheduling out the day according to all of these different things. And then I am typically checking in with our employees on a daily basis, if not weekly basis, about certain things. So daily, it would be like, hey, what are you focused on today? So if I'm looking at our marketing coordinator, I'm like, what are your tasks for today? So that I'm staying on top of them and their work, and I understand the time that I need to allot for those types of things, when I should be, communicating with them. I don't want to, bother them too much, but I do want to check in. And then kind of once we open the store, it's like anything goes.
Yeah.
You are in
Yeah.
customer relationships, you are at the processing desk, you are maintaining the systems, you are merchandising the store. You're being the doer, but you're also being the manager in the background and kind of orchestrating all these things.
Yeah, just like a really nice, like when you watch a restaurant, a busy restaurant, do all these things seamlessly. There's a lot of prep work to make that all look seamless. And Emily does a great job of that. When the doors open, it's what's that word you say? Like all hands off deck or something. Like anything can happen.
Yeah.
We usually have people waiting to come in, which is great, but you also have to be very ready for that. I think in closing, since we have 3 minutes and we stayed on time, that's amazing. I wanted to mention that when I've talked to other store owners over the past 15 years, I have heard time and time again that hiring people is really exhausting. It's the hardest part of running a small business. And I truly do believe the reason I have had, I think the most incredible employees, it's been one of my favorite parts of my whole life is the employees I've gotten to meet and learn from is I love it. I think that shows. Like I could get emotional talking about any single one of my employees and seeing that photo there and how special they all are and the previous ones as well. And I think the energy of that has really helped with my retention. And also, I always want whoever is in that position to be training their replacement. And I know that might sound weird or unconventional, but I believe in your community and always trying to make it better and not holding on to someone because it's what's best for you. And even this call with Emily and asking her to be here, I was like, I want to show you off because you're such an amazing asset to me. You've changed my life. But I don't expect her to like retention is one thing, but holding people there because they need to be loyal to you, that's a whole nother thing. Like your employees, while they're there, you should be teaching them everything you can so that they can spread their wings and live the life that they want to live. And I think that concept can be hard when you have really good people, you don't want to lose them. But I'm always trying to talk to Emily and training your, because I'm like, something could happen and I want you to have it. I want you to have the best life possible. And I think that goes a long ways with running your team as well. Um, in closing, I think that's it. I want to thank SimpleConsign for being something that I have used for 14 and a half years. Their systems that we have there have been consistently improved. And I know that there's a lot of people that share frustrations like, I want them to do that. But they've consistently provided a tool that's allowed me to grow my business. So I have really enjoyed the software.
Yeah.
Laura and Emily, thank you so much. I hope everyone found today's session as educational and valuable as I did. And as a reminder, we will send email follow-ups to everyone here today with their contact information, the recording, and a link to their website. So you will be able to find everything in that email.
Yeah. Caroline, before we go, I think we have
Yeah.
2 questions that I'd love Tamara to answer.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
I don't know if Emily would relocate to Georgia, but there are probably a few cities she'd be interested.
My partner would be maybe a little bit annoyed with that. Okay, so we have a question that says, I own my own consignment boutique for a year and a half and had not found good employees. I tried everything, Instagram, Indeed, not sure what to do. Do you have any suggestions?
I think asking sometimes when you're in something, you're a little too close to it. So I think asking a friend to look at your job description or just asking a peer, you're welcome to email us and just see if somebody else has an idea.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes when you're too close to something, it can get
Yeah.
like, I've exhausted everything.
Yeah. On that note, like I know that there's a lot of like job boards out there. Maybe there's a lot of communities for small business owners. Maybe it's a local small business owner community board that you have access to. But even just asking around on there, being like, hey, does anyone know of an
Yes.
employee
Yes.
that you might have, just come in passing and needs a job, just asking around to your peers if they have any recommendations as well.
Yeah.
And then the next one, I just opened a small children's consignment store and I'm currently the only employee. Do you have any advice for a brand new owner on knowing when it's time to hire or any must-have systems I should put into place before bringing someone on?
A job description. I mean, it sounds silly, but I did not have one for a long time. I was like, just figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. So a job description, and then also knowing the things that you could train and replicate that you let people have ownership over instead of like, okay, you give them the job, but then you're also a part of making every single decision with them.
Mhm.
That can be really hard when you're brand new. I think a lot of times when you hire someone, it allows you to make more money because you're able to bring in more consignment, price more consignment. So I think it's looking at your revenue and what your expenses are and thinking about having that extra time to price consignment. Sometimes that can it in and of itself pay for your first team member. And I think starting somebody off part-time is a great first step.
Nice. Yeah, and then thinking about the systems that you already do and having like even it doesn't have to be like a super firm, like robust manual, but even just having it written down. Because when you're going into training and hiring someone, having that list, being visual, being the doer, everyone learns a different way. Having all these steps in place will just make it a little bit easier for you to train someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.